It's fun to read new things, but Malvern kindly has this older book here, and one of my favorite poems in it, I actually wrote sort of for one of my teachers, David Webble, who was also just a wonderful human. And so I thought I would read it. I was thinking about him being here, and he has Tavern Books is bringing out some new work of his. If you don't know his work, you should buy it here at Malvern Books. But David Webble had told me once that he had quit smoking 30 years previous to when we met, but in his dreams he was still a smoker. And I just thought that was like such a great thing. And so I carried around this title, "A Man Can Still Dream of Cigarettes," for a really long time, and ended up writing a poem that really had nothing to do with David Webble, but it did, if you've spent any time. A man can still dream of cigarettes. The Spanish teacher said, "You'll know you've finally learned the language when the dream baby's snake face looks up and says, 'Hola.' I dreamed the real baby came too soon. We put her back and went to the rodeo, where women wearing jeans without back pockets leaned hard around barrels and the dust did rain. The parenting book tries to explain how it feels like you go to sleep in your bed and wake up in Mozambique. It could be China or Afghanistan. There are no camels in the Quran. We don't write what we know too well. We don't dream what we've already seen. Behind her tiny veined lids, the real baby's eyes gallop. 2 hours old, each dewy thought, a shiny fire truck parting the Red Sea, bellowing new. There's no need to seed her mind like clouds above a barely contained blaze. The parenting book doesn't try to explain how it feels to be born. There is no way to say, "I wonder" in Spanish. A sign above the road says, "You too arrived here through a tunnel in the darkness." It could say, "You can't be lost if you don't have a map." There are no camels in El Salvador, but there are blackbirds that backflip on telephone wires. This is what some call a translation. The baby's toes curl around my fingers like tender claws. Somewhere, oil fields burn endlessly, their confused faces clearly visible from outer space. So I too had the privilege of being in one of these Wing Beats collections, which are both great to teach from, but also great resources for me, and I'm really excited to see the second one. But the exercise I contributed actually came from a really funny assignment someone gave me. San Antonio has a big downtown arts festival called Luminaria, and this conceptual artist asked if I would write a love letter to a stranger, and I thought, cool, sure, And it was really hard. But what she did is she gathered 100 of these anonymous love letters, gathered them all, and then handed them out to people in the crowds, which was such a cool thing. And so one day I was totally unprepared for class. I walked into one of my classes. You were probably in there. Just kidding. And were you in this class? And I had to get my act together. I think we were workshopping, and I wrote on the board, "Write a love letter to a stranger." And I just sat down and they wrote the most amazing poems. And I kept thinking, if it's that easy, I should just do it every day. But there was something about this act of empathy, of sort of imagining someone and a reason you might love them and speaking to them in particular concrete details. So I gave myself an assignment of writing some more of them. And in some ways it kind of became one of the threads of this book, which ended up being called Dear Stranger. Just thinking about those notions of intimacy and distance, how you might speak very intimately to someone who you have no contact with or knowledge of, and how the person sleeping next to you in the tent might feel like a real stranger sometimes, And so I thought I'd just read you a couple of those to finish. I'm going to read you one that I wrote for my brother-in-law. called Love Letter to a Stranger, Suicide. Oh, brother, I would still sing of your dumb driving gloves, $2 bills, sweet coffee, and bitter pills. But a mother's voice gnaws the wires, pure and trapped, and I can't escape that. If we become people because of what we want, and nights I still wish the quick demise of small living things, kicking the mousetraps upside down and empty at dawn, then what? Something has to happen next to make a story. On the prairie, dandelions return first after the summer fires. But this is Houston, city of closed doors, and your profile emerges in every key I try. Someone else sees the molars of a distant mountain range. What rat ate the path back from the forest? You were there, practicing. One of the other love letters to a stranger poem, actually got its start in Austin. This is sort of my little bit of make fun of Austin poem, I guess. Not really, but I'm sure it was here that I saw one of those bumper stickers that said, "Dog is my co-pilot." Right, that's like a really Austin bumper sticker. Anyway, I wrote it down, I had this title, and I was thinking about, that notion of what we consider sacred. In many ways, I think our animals are, there are these sort of higher beings for some people, and I really respect that, but it ended up making a poem, maybe about a dog, maybe about a god. It kind of goes back and forth. Love letter to a stranger dog. One god escapes, smelling for like pilgrims, and returns smelling of duck shit. One coughs up wormy chunks of his own heart. One is carried, blind and incontinent, down the steps and back. I believe they will wash her bed again. One gets short-chained to a pole until his eyes crust and fly over. Chase your flies, UPS, the wind and our affections. Dream of virgins, eat the ham. I say warm body, press to thigh. Thump in the night, I say it depends on the god. I'm going to finish with one more of these little love letters. I don't know if this is just a Midwestern thing. Maybe I'm just a middle-aged thing, but do people send off balloons with like postcards attached to them? Or maybe it's environmentally not a good thing to do anymore. But when I was in elementary school, we would tie postcards, stamped postcards, and they'd have fill in the blanks, and you'd let the balloon go off, and hopefully someone would find it and send it back. And so there's a part in this poem where the blanks are empty because mine never came back. And so I carried this for a long time. But one day I tried to write a love letter to a bird who seemed to have something very specific to say. Love letter to a stranger bird. Perched on the precipice of grocery cart, you scream, I've forgotten your name. Starling, starling, sparrow or finch. Say hello, hollow bones. Then wait 100 bird years before whistling into the canyon of a kind man's ear. He'll talk of rooftops, skipping church, climbing the sanctuary stones on fingertips, how no one ever looked up. Who's the face that found my name tied to a low-flying balloon and never replied? I live in, I like, tell me. Somewhere the nest is woven from questions that grew quiet by sky, coral in mind, a cluster of speckled eggs gestating between Texas and thunderstorms. That strangely familiar bird still repeating, "Tell me your favorite color that isn't blue." Thanks so much for